Okay, so I wanted to try a new video format to focus on one thing in particular about a paddle without getting into the weeds with all of the metrics and other things that I usually cover in a full review. There are a lot of paddles out there right now, and to be honest, many of them are very similar. So instead of spending a lot of time diving into each quality of a paddle that's a lot like 10 other paddles, I want to make some videos that zero in on a particular aspect of a paddle that sets it apart from the others. The GRYP Balance 1 is a great place to start because it's a Gen 2 elongated raw carbon fiber paddle that in many ways is very similar to other options on the market right now, except for one thing that we'll soon start seeing a lot more of. There are several paddles coming out now and in the pipeline for future releases that use adjustable weighting. The most notable one so far was a flop, the Adidas Metal Bone. But there's a ton of room for improvement with adjustable weighting, and I think the way that GRYP is doing it has a lot of promise, and it's something we're already seeing other brands adopt. The GRYP Balance 1 has been around for 7 months now, and it was the first paddle to utilize adjustable weights in the base of the handle. So, how do these weights work, and do they make any difference? Let's find out. All right, the paddle is an elongated shape, so your standard 16.5 inches long by 7.5 inches wide with a 5.5-inch handle. It has a raw carbon fiber surface and a curved top. So with these dimensions and with its stock handle cap weight, on paper, this thing looks most similar to the Rhombus R1 Nova and R1 Pulsar, the Grooven Movin 16X, and the Volair Mach 1 Forza. One slight difference is that the GRYP Balance 1 uses a non-standard 15mm thickness. Now let's look at how the weighting system affects the paddle. First, we'll look at swing weight, twist weight, and balance point, and then we'll take it out to the court and look at performance. If you're not familiar with swing weight, twist weight, and balance point, just know that they all affect the feel, maneuverability, and performance of a paddle. The higher the swing weight, the more sluggish it's going to feel, but the more power it'll generate. The balance point also plays into the maneuverability of the paddle in terms of how head-heavy or head-light it feels. And the twist weight, by and large, relates to how broad the sweet spot feels, with higher twist weights correlating to wider sweet spots. Okay, so let's do some lab work here. We've got the paddle and the accessory box, which has the weights and the tool to pry the weights out of the handle with. The paddle comes stock with a 10-gram weight in the base of the handle. There are also 15-gram, 25-gram, and 30-gram weight options. So you can scale up the weight options in the base. Like I said, there is a tool to pry out the weights. It's just a tiny little screwdriver. And there's a little wedge in the bottom here, and you can see it's really easy to get the weights out. Again, this is the one that came stock with the paddle. 10 grams, it's a little harder to push them back in. Got to kind of pound it sometimes. You can hear it snap. That's actually a good thing because this holds in the paddle very secure, and you don't want these things falling out when you're playing. Okay, so let's put these through a series of tests. I've got a regular scale here to measure static weight, and then I've got the Graffiti SW1, which measures both swing weight and twist weight with this adapter. So what I'd like to do is measure the stock, which has the 10-gram weight in the base of the handle, and then measure consecutively each weight option. Okay, the stock paddle with the 10-gram weight in the base has a static weight of 8.28 ounces, so 8.3 ounces. All right, let's put this in the Graffiti and measure its swing weight. All right, stock swing weight is 112.8, so 113, which is pretty low for an 8.3 ounce paddle. Okay, we'll measure twist weight later because you have to change the adapters. So I'm going to change out the 10-gram cap for a 15-gram cap. 15-gram cap. Let's put this in. The trend you see when you're adding weight to the base of the handle is that the static weight obviously goes up, but the swing weight stays the same. So we go from a static weight of 8.3 ounces with the stock 10-gram cap up to 9.0 ounces with the 30-gram cap. but the swing weight hovers around 113 to 114 no matter which weight is used. Okay, let's see if the weights in the base of the handle actually affect the twist weight, and I would predict that no, there's actually no effect at all to the twist weight because you're not spreading the weight laterally, you're putting it on the long axis of the paddle right in the center, so I don't think this is going to have any effect on the twist weight. After this, we'll actually bring out another graffiti tool, which is the balance point tool, and we'll measure the balance point, and there will be a significant difference with the different weights in the base in terms of where the balance point is. The twist weight was mostly unaffected by the weight of the base caps, but there was a bit of surprise when the lightest 10-gram cap actually gave a small boost to the twist weight compared to every other cap. I triple-checked this to be sure, and it was always the same. More on that later. But the balance point dropped considerably as more weight was added to the bottom of the handle. The balance point is the center of mass on a paddle as measured in centimeters above the base of the handle, and it dropped from 22.7 with the 10-gram cap to 21.0 with the 30-gram cap. That was with the 10-gram cap. That was the original balance point, and the new balance point with the heaviest cap, 30-gram cap, is more than a centimeter less, so 1.7 centimeters lower than the original. So again, if I put my finger on this, paddle balances perfectly on my finger. So it may not look like much in terms of the drop in the balance point, but that is a significant drop. If you look at the statistics in my paddle database, this, I can tell you already, I haven't looked at the percentile, but it's going to be the 0 or first percentile. So the question becomes, how much does that affect the playability and the performance of the paddle in terms of dropping that balance point so low, as well as adding weight below the fulcrum being your hand? What is that going to do in terms of power and pop? So let's take it out on the courts and find out. To see how the weight caps at the base of the handle affected key performance metrics, I measured spin, power, and pop on the paddle using the 10-gram cap, which is the lightest weight, and then I ran all these tests again using the heaviest 30-gram cap. For spin, there was basically no difference. It got 2,107 RPM with the 10-gram cap and 2,042 RPM with the 30-gram cap. This is within the margin of error, and I don't think the weights had any effect on spin. But power and pop did show some interesting trends. So again, power is the velocity of the ball with full swings like serves and drives,
60 miles per hour,
versus pop, which is the velocity imparted with short swings like punch volleys and flicks,
37 miles per hour,
or when your paddle is stationary when the ball hits it. I played around with adding lead tape to paddles before to see how it affects power and pop, but up to now, I've only added weight above the fulcrum or above your hand when you're holding the grip. And mostly what I found is that adding weight anywhere along the perimeter of the paddle above your hand increases power but decreases pop. And that makes sense because a paddle with more mass will transfer more energy to a ball. But when that mass is above your hand, it's harder to accelerate as quickly from point A to point B with a shorter stroke, so you do lose some pop. But what's interesting about the weighting system on the grip paddle is that adding weight to the bottom of the handle below your hand actually increases both power and pop. Serves hit with the 30-gram cap at the base of the handle were 2% faster than when using the 10-gram cap. This may not sound like much, but in terms of percentiles, the power of the paddle with the 10-gram cap falls near the average in my database at the 55th percentile. But with the 30-gram cap, the paddle's power is at the 86th percentile. Like I said, you also see about the same increase in power when you add weight along the paddle's perimeter above your hand. But what usually happens in that scenario is that you lose pop. But adding weight at the base of the handle also increased pop, taking it from the 62nd percentile using the 10-gram cap to the 89th percentile using the 30-gram cap. So what seems to be happening is that your ability to accelerate the paddle with short strokes isn't hindered when you add weight below the fulcrum. And I think this relates to torque because you're rotating the paddle as you swing it. So for example, if you were doing punch volleys like this, then adding weight anywhere along the paddle will reduce your ability to accelerate. But since the paddle is rotating as we swing it, adding weight below the fulcrum provides more torque, allowing you to whip through the ball with more force. So clearly, this system of custom weights does affect the performance of the paddle. So now let's see how this translates to gameplay. For this, I mic myself up during warm-up and skinny singles to capture some initial impressions. Yeah, I like the stability that this 30
It feels really good, doesn't it? How's the dinking?
Yeah, so far so good. I don't notice much difference in digging except for the greater stability. Doesn't feel head heavy or anything. Yeah, the weight and the handle certainly doesn't do anything for twisting. I still feel it twisting just as much as normal. Just makes it feel, there's less vibration, I think. Maybe a little more plow through, even.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Certainly whippy with that weight in the butt.
I bet it feels, yeah. So much leverage beneath your hand versus always.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel as hard on my elbow either. Hey. Yeah, the twisting's still there for sure. So far I don't feel like I'm losing any hand speed with extra whole gram in the handle. Come on.
Too high. Oh man, John.
Yeah,
man, you ripped that serve, dude.
Yeah, that's certainly adding to the power, and I don't feel any loss in hand speed either at the hands battles at the kitchen.
But the twisting isn't doing anything.
Twisting.
For that. Yeah.
What I'm gonna do next, I think, is add some bud tape at 4 and 8 o'clock. See if that shores up that twisting.
Let's do it. Thanks are nice. Come on, get in. Oh, nice shot, John.
Nice, Eddie. Good play.
Control.
Nice shot. Yeah, I really like this setup with lead at 4 and 8 o'clock, so 3 grams on each side, 6 grams total. It's not much lead, but it's enough to shore up the kind of twisting problem.
Yeah.
Maybe it slowed down my hands a little bit, and but otherwise, a little bit of boosted power. But I like it. I would play with this all day with this setup. So 30 grams in the base of the handle, 6 grams total.
Yeah.
As you just saw, using the heaviest 30-gram weight at the base of the handle, the first thing I noticed was a more stable feel to the paddle when hitting the ball. But as I played with it more, I realized the stability was limited to the long axis of the paddle, and there seemed to be more twisting of the paddle with off-center shots. Remember that weird twist weight reading where it was actually higher with the lightest cap than it was with all the other caps? Measure the twist weight, and I think we can predict that it will also be 6.0. No, 6.15. I think that's within the range of error. Let's try that again. Maybe this isn't an anomaly after all. Maybe it's a real thing. Adding a small amount of lead tape at the 4 and 8 o'clock positions did seem to shore up some of that twisting, but at that point you're at about 9.3 ounces for the static weight of the paddle, and that's a heavy paddle no matter how you cut it. I did play some doubles games with the 30-gram base cap, and the paddle did perform well. Good power, good pop, and decent hand speed, considering the 9-ounce static weight. But during these games, I still noticed that weird contradiction between the nice stability along the long axis and the instability along the lateral axis. So although I initially thought I liked the paddle best with the bigger 30-gram weight, the heaviest one, I'll most likely be using the 25 or 15-gram caps moving forward. So it's good to have those options for easy, replaceable weighted handle caps. So yeah, I think that GRYP, the Balance One, has spearheaded a new movement and paddle technology with their weighted base caps. Playing around with the balance point and adding weight below the fulcrum is a relatively new frontier with paddles, but it's been around for a long time with tennis rackets. I definitely think we'll see more and more companies copying GRYP moving forward. The GRYP Balance One costs $200, and you can take $20 off that with the code JOHNQ at checkout. And I think that after the discount, this price sounds about right for a paddle that plays very similar to paddles that are about $20 cheaper, like the Volair Mach 1 Forza and Rhombus R1 Nova, but with the added option to tweak the weight of the handle in this new replaceable cap technology. They also have a 6-month warranty for manufacturing defects. I would love to see more shape options in the GRYP lineup. A hybrid paddle would be nice, and I'm very curious what this weighting system would do for a wide body paddle. Maybe the added twist weight of the wide body would offset the lateral instability when using the larger 30-gram cap. And using a 30-gram base cap on a paddle with a really low swing weight to start with might make a lethal weapon for speed-ups and counters at the kitchen. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, play smart, and have fun.